Good morning, Year 6. For today's grammar, we're going to be revising a relative clause. So we'll be able to recognise a relative clause and use a relative clause in a sentence. But what is a relative clause? Is it a type of punctuation? Is it Santa Claus's uncle? Or is it a specific type of subordinate clause that adapts, describes, or modifies a noun? Yep, you guessed it. It is a specific type of subordinate clause. And in fact, a relative clause adds more information about the noun in a sentence. So in the example shown on screen, you'll see the old man often complained about the young girl who lived next door. The relative clause in that sentence is who lived next door. The old man often complained about the young girl makes sense on its own. However, the relative clause gives us a bit more information to make our sentences more interesting. A relative clause always begins with a relative pronoun, and we're just going to focus on 6 relative pronouns that are commonly used in the English language to help us identify a relative clause. So, have a look at the relative clauses below, and I'd like you to copy and underline the relative clause in your exercise books. Hint, look for the relative pronouns in the sentence to help you spot them. It's a good idea to just pause the video here and complete your writing in your book. Okay, so here you'll find the answers to the questions on the previous slide. The people who lived on the island are very friendly. Had we taken out that relative clause, the sentence would still make sense. The people are very friendly. Okay, it would be people that we've previously referred to. So it makes sense. I bought a new car that is very fast. I bought a new car makes sense on its own, but I can tell you a bit more about my car by telling you that it's really fast. And so on and so forth as we go through them. So think about how well you did and whether that's something you need to go over. And if you need to go over it again, feel free to rewind the video and do so. Here's our task section, and I'd like you to write the definition of a relative clause in your own words in your exercise book. Then think about what you have learnt about subordinate clauses. Is a relative clause a type of subordinate clause? And what does the term clause even mean? So answers to the previous slide, I'd like you to go back to the beginning of the video to check your definition. Number 2, a relative clause is a type of subordinate clause because it adds more information to the sentence and is dependent on the main clause. It must be placed beside or within a main clause in order to make sense. The term clause means a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. It can be part of a sentence or it can even be a sentence by itself. So, not to confuse the two, a main clause can be a sentence by itself, whereas a subordinate clause must be part of a sentence which contains a main clause. Okay, so a subordinate clause needs the main clause, but the main clause doesn't need the subordinate clause. Now I'd like you to have a go at completing the sentences shown on screen, questions numbers 1 to 7. Have a go at completing the sentences using a relative clause, and then go on to writing 3 of your own sentences containing a relative clause. To continue your learning, you can go on to BBC Bitesize, where you'll find some tasks and some videos to support you further and challenge yourself. Okay, have a good day. Take care. Bye.